we give them support to do whatever they think is right within the sort of activation experience. I think over time we might be finding more about like, here's another critical action that they need to do, and we'll either highlight that within the welcome flow right now, or potentially within the checklist.
Hey everybody, welcome to Behind the Experience, where we give you an inside look behind the top product-led experiences. Each week you'll hear inspiring UX examples, proven strategies, and hard-earned lessons from people who are actually creating and doing it and building it. And I'm super excited to also have my co-host here, Lila. How's it going, Lila?
Hello. Hey, Ramley. We were just chatting about Canada. Are you fully falled, Ramley? Are you fully autumned?
I'm fully autumned. Yes, I am.
Yeah, fully in. Well, we have another Canadian joining us. I'm super glad, super happy, super stoked to have Kris Chichak here, customer marketing strategist at Thinkific. Welcome, Kris.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Super glad. And you are also fully autumned, Kris. You're fully...
I'd say we're actually mid-autumned right now because,
Wow.
Vancouver is having really nice weather these days. So fully autumned is when it's completely raining, and we're not there yet, thankfully. So it's good.
Yeah, when all the leaves have fallen off the trees and it's nothing good to look at anymore.
You can't see the sky anymore. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was just saying before we started hitting record that I loved your title, customer marketing strategist. So what does that entail? Obviously, we're going to talk a little bit about some onboarding stuff today, but what is that? What sort of things do you work on at Thinkific?
Yeah, so I think the first thing was when I came in was starting to understand the customer journey, and then helping both our own team with like communicating to customers and helping customers move along that journey, and then helping consulting other teams both in product and then on the marketing side as well with what is the customer journey, how can we segment our customers based on where they're at, and then how can we develop communications that actually helps them accomplish jobs. And that's not just like to say just an email, it also includes content and then linking that to the app as well. I'm the sort of primary user of app queues within the company. So, that's part of it as well. But yeah, I mean, strategist basically just means try and understand and do good work, I think.
I like that. Yeah, I like that. So, I mean, on that, obviously onboarding is part of your purview. And so how do you define success for new users at Thinkific? Either like, is there things broken up throughout, starting a trial, post-purchase, is there different gradients? Take us through even the granular things would be interesting.
Yeah, totally. So we kind of dug into activation at the start of last year a lot more, and that was kind of by connecting quite a few different teams. I was obviously involved in that. And the way that we sort of look at success there is by the habit metric or the habit moment, which we came up with. And this is something that continually evolves. But we found that 5 enrollments in 30 days was a really good indicator that they're starting to see some momentum there. It's a little bit tricky with course creation because there's so many different things that they have to get done. And from creator to creator, customer to customer, it's often not the same thing because they're building sort of unique and different learning products. But we know that when they're starting to see momentum is when they've hit that sort of like 5 enrollments within a 30-day window. We know that they're doing good things, that they have some of the fundamentals there, like they must have a sales page, they must have a payment provider connected, they must have some sort of a product published. So I think that's kind of the gauge for us. We're starting to see, as anybody who works in activation and onboarding know, it's kind of hard to find that metric that is like, truly the indicator of what's going on in the product. So we're starting to see that free to paid is obviously a good indicator as well. We get a lot of free customers, and the more that are sort of upgrading to a paid plan, and the sooner that they are doing that is a good indicator that they're getting some value there. And then I think the way we've been thinking about it as well is that there's like a couple other moments that ladder up to that habit moment, and that would be the setup moment and the aha moment. Setup is one checkout start within 7 days or within the first 7 days. So that basically means that our customer has had a customer or a lead come to their sales page and start the checkout process, but maybe haven't necessarily finished it. And that just means that they've set up a bunch of different things, and it's possible now for them to start seeing value from the product, where if they hadn't gotten a checkout start, or it was impossible for them to get a checkout start, it would also be impossible for them to start to see value out of the product, which is basically, in course enrollments or learning product enrollments. And then the other moment there was aha moment, which is one enrollment in the first 14 days. And that just is kind of the point where it's like, you see that come into your account, you see it on your dashboard, and you're like, oh, I can get signups this way. Like I can have people come in and start to purchase or sign up for my learning products. So yeah, I think those are the main metrics that we've been using so far. But as I said, it's totally evolving, and I think it always will.
Yeah, as it should be. I mean, I really like, what you said about what you're measuring, which is people enrolling for your users courses. A lot of people are thinking about it much more from their perspective. Like, oh, did they create a course, or did they set up XYZ things? And you're like, yeah, I mean, those are good indicators that they're going to get value, but the real value that they get is when people actually sign up and do things. So I think that's a smart move on your team's part to like look beyond, right? Just that. And something that people find super challenging, especially if they don't have consumers on the other side signing up, can be tough. It's like, okay,
crickets.
When is this business person getting business value out of my business product? It can be a little bit challenging, but they are there. It's just, if you take that mindset, I think, that you have, where you're like, okay, when is the actual human using this getting value out of it? Not me as the marketer or the product person getting excited because someone's signing up for my product, which is
exactly
and doing things in it, which is very exciting, but it doesn't mean they're getting value out of it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of that comes from us like speaking to our customers and like really trying to understand the journey. So obviously there's the data side, and there's a ton that we learned from just looking at the data and analyzing, but then kind of talking to customers. And a lot of this came out of our onboarding study that we did in kind of Q1 of this year, to understand like, what does it look like for you? Like, what did that feel like when you accomplished this? And I think that marrying those two things, the sort of qualitative and the quantitative, was really important for us to start to, understand the lay of the land a little bit more, and how our customers are experiencing getting started on our product.
I love that it's planned out for the next 30 days. Like, first of all, onboarding is habit. I think for people who are tuning in, this is another reiteration that onboarding success is not about getting them to the aha moment. It's about building this habit. And for you, it's cool that you found this correlation with 5, people who sign up to enrollments lead to people sticking around longer. One of the questions I had was around this notion of a day one activity. Usually when somebody signs up for a product, we want to guide them to a quick win where they get some kind of value, because setting up a course might take a few days, and getting that first enrollment, you said, could take 7 days, and getting the 5 takes 30 days. Is there a day one activity at Thinkific? Is it, we're going to be talking a little bit about this course that you created for Thinkific, your first course. Is that it? Somebody who starts that, or is it something else that you're driving people towards in their first, let's say, even hour that they sign up for Thinkific?
Yeah, well, I think there's kind of two ways that we go about that. So there's the welcome flow, which is right after sign up, they go into a flow before they are even landed in their dashboard. And there's a couple things that they do there, like sort of name their course, select what kind of product they want to create, whether it's a community or a course at this point, which are 2 learning products that we offer. And then there are things like, brand it, select your color, add a logo, all of those things. And we kind of call those like a mini aha moment, because right after that, you can preview your course player. And even without content in it, you can start to get an idea of what this looks like. And it looks really professional. It looks like it's going to be a great experience for their students, and they haven't even really done anything yet. So I think that's one thing. The tricky part comes when they land into the dashboard. And depending on who they are, because we have, high level managers at large companies, and we have, people who are what we call sort of dreamers, or like side hustlers, they maybe don't even have that big of an audience right now, but they have this idea for the course and they want to explore it. So those two people are on completely different sides of the spectrum. And that means that they have different jobs to get done. So what we're doing right now within the platform, within the dashboard, is we offer a checklist that, gives some structure in terms of what you can do first and second and third, but it doesn't force you to do anything in any sort of a linear path. So right now it's a little bit of like an a la carte. It's like, here's everything that you can do within your next couple of days within Thinkific that's going to be really important for you to get started. But it's kind of up to you which ones you want to choose, because there's a lot of different things you have to do. For instance, you have to set a price. You don't have to have a course before you set a price. Maybe you start to, quantify value of what you're going to be able to offer before you even get into the content, which then might help you understand a little bit more about the course that you're creating. If you're saying, okay, well, I'm just going to, do a smaller course that's $50 right now, then that the content is offering $50 of value, not like a, $100 recurring membership or a $1,200 course like we see some creators create, which is obviously going to change the path of their activation experience and like what they're building. So yeah, I mean, long-winded answer of just saying we give them support to do whatever they think is right within the sort of activation experience. I think over time we might be finding more about like, here's another critical action that they need to do, and we'll either highlight that within the welcome flow right now, or potentially within the checklists. But also to say that, I'm a customer marketing strategist that's, more involved in communicating these things and creating content and stuff like that at the moment. That's going to be for the product team to work on, but I'll definitely have some ideas if they ask me.
Awesome.
We always have ideas for product, don't we?
Yes, we do. They love that.
That's our thing. Yeah. That actually segues into my next question, which is like, how do you work with other teams on the onboarding experience? And especially when you have free users, how does that all work together? Like, do you collaborate, in different ways across the journey? Are there different squads? Kind of, how do you break that up? People have a hard time figuring that out in their teams, I think.
Yeah, I think we do too. I would say we've been successful so far, but we're still trying to find sweet spots and things like that. So I think the way that I work with product teams right now is like, I specifically in customer marketing as a team partners quite closely with our growth team, and they are kind of owning a lot of the dashboard and the onboarding experience, and trying to find these wins around like how we help our customers be successful as quickly as possible. And one of the ways that I specifically contribute to that is on the strategy side. I've created what's called a customer journey map, and the thinking around customer journey mapping has been kind of critical to understanding, our activation experience and activation entirely, because it's kind of the process of looking at what do they have to get done, and how can we kind of like organize what we call those customer jobs, which is basically things that they need to do, into different phases within the journey. And then so one of those phases sort of became activation. Like, okay, within activation, what are the critical jobs that they have to get done? And we were able to identify pretty early on that there are some things that we're sort of like telling our customers to do, which maybe aren't critical to that, 5 enrollments in 30 days metric, or early success metrics in general. So it's kind of taking those out of activation and then moving them further along the journey and saying like, hey, just focus on these right now. So then that basically means one thing I created as well off of the customer journey map was an activation map, which is straight out of Reforge, which I'm not sure if you've ever heard of that, but it's a UX course, I suppose, or just a tech academy. And so Reforge recommends this activation map that is very similar to a customer journey map. It just like aligns, product notifications, incentives, and people by the tasks that customers have to get done. So that was one thing that I came up with, was the activation map, and then basically brought that to the growth team and the product team. And we sort of decided on, okay, are these the right jobs? Worked with data as well, pulled them into it based on, usage within the platform and all of those things. And then what the activation map became was checklists, which I think we'll show that a little later on the show, but it became these sort of like in-product checklists that shows the customers all the different things that they had to get done. So it was sort of me and the research teams coming up with this map, giving it to the product teams. They sort of like figure out the functionality and like how the experience is going to work and all of the sort of technical components within that. And then I come back in, help sort of finesse the copy a little bit. We have, other content teams coming in and saying, okay, well, for this particular phase or this particular customer job that they have to get done, they need a little bit more guidance. So let's create a video, and so on and so forth. So it was definitely like a collaboration. I think how we had originally gone about connecting those teams was through an activation pillar that we had set up at Thinkific. And that was kind of bringing a bunch of different teams together to really focus on building out this work. A lot of that work was completed, and now we're kind of, switching gears a little bit and reorganizing again. I think that's all the ways that we've been working together there.
Wow. That is impressive. It's cool that you detailed all of this, all this stuff. Speaking of the checklist that you mentioned, let's actually jump in and take a look at it. Like when somebody, signs into or signs up for Thinkific and they fill out their stuff, this is what the people would see. There's some, people can select the different stuff, and there's videos and things like that. And obviously the star of this videos, most of them is you. So I was like, when we started recording, it's like, oh, I know this guy, he's famous. Can you talk a little bit about this checklist? And it seems like it's kind of all broken down into four core pieces to it.
Yeah, totally. So behind the video there, you can see in the top tabs, there's get started, create a course, create a community, and launch and sell. So what that is kind of all the different things and what I would say like the high level customer jobs that they might want to complete at a given time. So first of all, they land in the product. Part of it is getting oriented and like even not just within the product, but within this checklist to tell them, hey, here's why this is important. And the reason that it's important is because this is the most efficient way for them to get started. This checklist really guides them through everything that we've seen successful early creators do, and it's helped them avoid some critical mistakes that some early customers make, which is putting a ton of time and effort into the content before they've really like validated that with their own audience and a bunch of different little things like that. So there's get started. And then based on what they selected within the welcome flow, they'll either be directed to this create a course checklist if they want to create a course as their first product, or this create a community checklist, which is right beside it, or they can kind of toggle between both and see like, okay, well, what are the steps to creating a community? Is that going to be something that's, faster for me to get off the ground? Is that going to be a more valuable product right now? Or is it courses? The checklist kind of helps them through that. So then basically, as you go through these customer jobs, basically, which is, create a course outline. So it will guide you over to the course builder, and then you can like flesh out your first course within the course builder. You've completed that, or as you're getting closer to completing your product, we'll take you over to the launch and sell checklist, because this was a part that was like a little bit, I'd say, like neglected, probably sometime last year, which is we were helping our customers create something, but we weren't necessarily helping or guiding them towards launching that and selling it. So that was a big thing that our customers were coming to us and saying, like, hey, you've helped me build this beautiful course, but then I feel like I'm a little bit on my own here, and I don't exactly know what to do next. I don't have any enrollments, and I'm feeling a little bit stuck. So this launch and sell checklist was us giving them a little bit more guidance around that side of things. So yeah, it's basically just, a guide to getting started. And it also highlights the critical jobs, and importantly, doesn't include anything that's not important. A lot of our customers are, professionals in their given field. They're not necessarily professional course creators or, professional content creators and things like that. So they're like, I know how to teach what I teach, but I don't necessarily know how to build that and, structure content and all of those things. So these checklists are here to give them guidance with doing that.
I really love this. Can you talk a little bit about, like, one of the things I noticed was, even when you click on Thinkific Tour, it's a video. So there's a lot of videos everywhere. And is this something you've experimented with, where it's like, mainly text based versus, like there's like this highly well produced video that shows you at the center to talk a little bit about the different products?
Yeah, I think that so we have been seeing a lot of sort of good data around how our customers are engaging with videos versus other content, and they love the videos. They're clicking on them, they're watching them all the way through, and then they're going and doing things within the product after. And I think that a part of that comes from the complexity of creating learning products and who our customers are. So our customers are, again, maybe it's a lifestyle coach or something like that, and they've been doing one-to-one coaching for a long period of time. And this and technology in general is maybe not something that they've really done a lot of before. And then having a video that sort of sets the context and sort of explains things in a little bit more long form than we would be able to do with copy in the product or things like that, is helping them feel a little bit more like, okay, this isn't crazy. This is something I can do. Other people can do it, and I'm going to go forward and do that. So I think, that's at least the hypothesis behind, why they're clicking on video content. Yeah. And then we also have workbooks within the platform as well. We're seeing that, there's definitely a higher engagement with videos. Another benefit of using videos within it is it's super easy for us to add translation. So we have a lot of users coming that speak languages other than English. For us to, translate other content or workbooks is a lot harder than us just having the closed captions in another language within the video. So that was one of the other reasons why we're liking videos so far.
I like so I'm noticing all of the, like, I like how you kind of broke down, this is something I've stolen from WorkRamp, but that bite size is the right size, right? So you're talking about how there's quite a few steps that they need to go through. So you've kind of broken steps down into nested steps. And I'm wondering, is there a drop off point where you find, like, okay, we definitely can't do more than 4, more than 3, or because a lot of people ask us these questions like, how many steps exactly should I have in my checklist? And it's tough to say, oh, okay, this many, because it does depend. But what success have you seen with numbering and amounts?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have the data off the top of my head, but we definitely saw that, the longer the list, not necessarily the less that people engaged with it, but the less successful that they sort of became. And a lot of the comments and feedback coming from the customers was, this is very intimidating. Like, this is very complex. It's very intimidating. So we have to balance that with the other side of the tape, I guess, which is that you need to do a certain number and a sort of certain mix. You need to accomplish a certain number, a certain mix of customer jobs for you to launch a course that gets enrollments and is successful. There's not a ton of shortcuts there. If you avoid creating a sales page, your customers aren't going to be able to find your course and pay for your course. So all of those things, I think that's what ours is really dictated off of, is like, okay, like what can they feasibly do and not do and be successful? And this is the bare minimum. What we have in those checklists is like, it's the critical tasks to complete to be able to hit that habit metric of 5 enrollments in 30 days. If they didn't do any of those jobs, or if one of those jobs was not complete, they are not going to be able to be successful.
That's interesting. And so I'm sure, you also have a lot of people who sign up and, hopefully not that many, but some people who sign up and do absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
What are some of the tactics that you take outside of your product to get people back in?
Yeah. So I think like part of that is this website that we launched, which is yourfirstcourse.co. And this is basically a site that is now connected to a lot of our sort of like marketing nurture campaigns and things like that. And it's very similar to the checklists, a little bit more obviously engaging and a lot more content there, because what we're seeing from those people and how we consider those people is they're sort of in the evaluation phase. So they're looking at Thinkific, they're evaluating whether this is a solution to the sort of problem that they've identified. So they don't necessarily need a lot more content around, this is why course creation is right for your business, because they've already created an account. What we think that they need is like a little bit more guidance around how to accomplish these things and more clarity around that journey to success and what that's going to look like for them. A lot of times what we've heard from our customers is, well, how long is it going to take me? And obviously that entirely depends on their business and their content and all of these things. But this guide here is basically set up to help them understand a little bit more about all the different jobs to be done within activation or onboarding that they would need to complete to see some early success, which is 5 enrollments in 30 days. And if they are able to achieve that 5 enrollments in 30 days, well, they're starting to obviously see success, and that starts to get them more engaged. So it's a lot for us, at least in customer marketing, around helping our customers accomplish the jobs that are required to be done to find early success. And the hypothesis is that the rest will take care of itself, because once they start to see enrollments, once they're starting to generate some revenue on the platform, we don't need to fight for their attention. We don't need to beg them to come back.
Right.
Like they have a business here. So yeah, that's kind of the goal there. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome and must be satisfying.
Yes.
So what are some things that maybe surprised you when building some of these experiences, like either in a happy surprise or maybe a thing you thought would really crush it that was a flop? I know that happens to me a lot.
Yeah, specifically, I mean, I was surprised at how engaging customers found the videos. Like that was one thing we kind of talked about. Like this was a wild bet. It's like, would this help? And seems so far like that is helping. I think on the sort of like other side of things, it's really hard to figure out the activation metric and the sort of like habit metric and then create internal alignment based off that. I think that was a little bit surprising, because coming in, I was like, okay, first step is this, and then we go on, and that's not the case. And
Preach.
I think that's okay. Yeah, I'm sure you've experienced the same thing. I think that's okay, because we're trying to get it right, and we're trying to do something that works for our customers and our business. But I did not expect it to be as difficult as it's been. Although I would say we're on the other side of that now, which is exciting.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
not uncommon, and good for y'all for getting through it, because it's hard. It's hard to get everybody to agree. It's hard for everybody to decide
Mm.
where the value is, and a lot of people, every team has different priorities, so they think a customer finds value at different times, and what should be the things that we push them to the most. So I know a lot of people, I think, come to AppQs looking for, especially me, like we'll get on the phone and they'll be like, Lila, what should we do first? And I'm like, I need you to do a ton of research and talk to 80 billion one of your teams, and then come back to me, and then I can help you to give you some advice. But like, it's not that simple. It's not just, okay, they do the tasks and that's when they see value. It's actually
Mm.
um, maybe not complicated, but it involves detail, research,
Talking,
uh,
lots of
work.
communication. Yeah, lots of sort of, preparing decks and bringing those across the organization. And I'm not saying that was just me that did that, but all the different teams that were involved in putting that information together and then communicating that and then communicating it again and again and again in a way to sort of create that momentum was a lot of work.
Totally love that. I want to talk a little bit about some of the experiments that you're running. When I went to your first course, that's you. I believe that's correct. It's like this is what I saw. For people tuning in, there's this three blobs:
Yeah.
plan, create, and then I think launch. And you, before we started recording, it's like randomly before I saw you have the old version that you have, and now you're launching this way more beautiful. There's this journey that you've been talking about on the screen where for people who are tuning in via audio, or there's a line that cuts through across the screen, and then there's multiple steps, and there's three huge milestones: plan, create, and launch. And when people click through it, there's videos, there's courses. Can you talk a little bit about like the process for redesign? What was the reasoning behind this redesign and the experiment for this?
Yeah, so I think it directly comes from our activation metrics. So we had, 5 enrollments within 30 days. So what are all the jobs that they have to get done? And this is basically a map of all of those jobs organized by the sort of three clear phases that we see. So first step, or first phase rather, is plan, and that's kind of where if customers skip the plan phase, they often
Mm.
go kind of guns a-blazing into creating a learning product that they create the
Mm.
first version of, and then they look at it and they're like, oh, that's not quite right. It doesn't fit. Why doesn't it fit? And then they go back and iterate and iterate and iterate. And a lot of our, early customers get stuck in that cycle because they haven't done the work of, let's define my audience clearly. Who am I creating value for? And then let's create a content plan, which is basically, how we meet that need. Um, Without doing that thinking beforehand, they can kind of get caught in a lot of those loops. So that was the plan phase. Then create is basically all the jobs that happen within Thinkific. So, okay,
Mm.
you've taken, maybe just a half hour or an hour to scribble through some of these workbooks, or even just like write on a napkin or a Notion or whatever. Here's my plan. Here's how it fits into my business. And now I'm going to go into Thinkific and I know exactly what I'm creating. So I go into the course builder. I want to do that first for whatever reason. You create an outline of lessons and so on and so forth. So yeah, I think that's why the content is organized how it is just based on the journey of activating and of creating a first course. And then in terms of the old version of your first course versus the new version, it was basically just we knew what we wanted to build, which is this thing, but we knew that it was going to take some steps to get there. So the first one was the MVP that we were able to sort of launch in, I guess, Q2 as quickly as possible. And then it was basically go back, refine it, make it a better experience. We want this to be something that both our new customers can use, as well as people who are just evaluating the idea of creating online learning products and doing some research around, okay, well, how do I do this? What ways is it possible? So I think in this way, with a great experience like that and easy to navigate the journey, it's able to serve both of those audiences.
Any other experiments you're looking at launching? You're currently working on that you're excited about to improve, that activation, getting more people to that habit moment?
Yeah. So I think a lot of that happens through the checklist. So we have that checklist within the dashboard that we already looked at, but now we're using app queues to use a sort of like what we call a global checklist. So a little checklist, I guess, slide out that pops up within the different areas within the platform. So if somebody's new to the site builder, for instance, it outlines like the 4 steps that they should get done within the site builder. And it's a really nice pattern because it's not really requiring any action from them. It's just sort of giving them a little bit of guidance, especially if it comes with like sort of 2 completed tasks and 2 incompleted tasks. So like, oh yeah, I'm 50% done in the site builder. Maybe I can, get those other 2 tasks done right now. So yeah, I mean, that follows everything. Like all of this is based off of what are the customer jobs to be done within activation, and then what are the different ways that we can support our customers with getting those done. So there's the dashboard checklist right when they land in the product. There's yourfirstcourse.co that we're driving them through different methods of communication, and then there's that global checklist as well. So yeah, I think those are the main experiments right now for sure.
Yeah, it all comes together when you have a framework to build off of. You have everybody aligned on the same page. You do all that legwork and that research like y'all did at first, and everything gets, I don't want to say easier, but maybe faster. And the ideas, I feel like ideas flow better when you have something to anchor them to, right?
Totally. You build more momentum a little bit more easily because you're actually heading towards somewhere, and when you look back you can see all the progress you've made rather than switching directions so many times, or any of the other analogies for sort of wayfinding. But yeah, it's exactly it. It's like we have this map, and I think as long as we continue to stick to it and identify more and better ways to help our customers get through that map, the better off we are as a team and as a company, and as our customers are as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So where can people find more about you online? Oh my goodness, tongue twisted myself. Can they creep on Thinkific? Do you have your own course on Thinkific yet, Kris?
That's a good question.
I do, but I mean, so we all have to create courses when we start. It's part of our onboarding process. Mine is not good, but I can give it to you anyways. It's School of Hard Rocks. Thinkific.com.
School of Hard Rocks.
Climbing. Yeah,
love it.
Exactly.
Oh, rock climbing. Cool.
But yeah, I really wouldn't recommend anybody go there because I did that in one day. I think I'd love people to be able to follow the progress of yourfirstcourse.co. And then as well, if you want to see the work that our teams are continuing to do, you can always create a free account within Thinkific at thinkific.com. And then obviously I'm on LinkedIn as well. Kris Chichak is the name. I want to be posting more, but it's not something I do enough of, but happy to, connect with other like-minded activation / onboarding enthusiasts.
Yeah, watch out. I'm coming for you on LinkedIn, Kris.
Nice. New connection.
Yeah, new connection. Gotta get those connections up.
Totally.
What is it? Blitz growth? What does LinkedIn say?
Oh,
I don't know. Blitz growth?
That's
growth
like
hacking?
their thing. I don't know. I'm sorry. Ramley, cut me off.
No, it's all good. Kris, thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you both. It was a pleasure.